Cigar was for a long time was the all-time money winner. Was in the National Hall of Fame. Now he's in the first class of the Maryland Thoroughbred Hall of Fame. Talk about sort of what this is like and what it means on top of all the other accolades he's received.
Well, for us personally, each generation of my family have had some really good horses associated with them. My grandfather planned the mating of Man of War. He raced Discovery in his name, who he later sold to Vanderbilt. My dad and my uncle stood Saggy, who got carry back to win the '61 Derby in Preakness. And then another stallion in our barn, Correspondent, sired Sherlock, so they swept the Triple Crown in '61. And so here was a horse, one of the greatest racehorses of all time, foaled on Josh and my watch. And so here was a marquee horse for our generation. And that was a big thing for us. You know, not only did we have Allen's Prospect, a leading sire, but now we had like a meteorite landed at Country Life. Just an incredible, talented horse. And interestingly enough, he was a beautiful foal, but you would never have thought we didn't know who he was. But other than the fact that he was athletic and nimble and did ornery things that foals do better than the other foals.
How did it come to be that Solar Slew foaled at Country?
Well, we had Allen's Prospect, and we had another stallion named Carter Key, both for Ellen Pons. And he would send 2 tractor-trailer loads in the Sally vans of mares to be bred to these stallions. And Solar Slew, who we paid, I think he paid $350,000 for at the 2-year-old sales, by Seattle Slew. She wasn't much of a race mare, but she was a wonderful producer.
So how sort of involved or close to the racing career of Cigar were you?
Well, I saw several of the races in his streak. The British Cup Classic, the Special. I'm trying to think. I think I saw 3 of the 16. And then flash backwards a number of years, Saggy beat Citation, and then Citation won 16 in a row. So it's funny to be sort of linked to the 2 strings, even if it's a fine thread.
Ways.
Yeah, yeah.
I just want to get in that. Mike, I remember Mike telling me, I was walking past the office and he opens his window and goes, "Hey Alan, you remember that foal by Solar Slew? He just won the Pimlico Special." And I said, "Actually, Mike, I do. We fold 30-some foals a year." And as it turns out, I was pregnant the year Cigar was born, and I had been leading him across the field in the afternoon, and he took one jump ahead of me, kicked me in the stomach, and I remember like looking around going, nobody saw that, but you know, duly warned, this will be the last day I work with foals till I have a baby. So I said to Mike, I remember him very well. He left mud on my shirt and told me it was time to put up the boots till I was done foaling.
And Ellen threw the shanks down and we were so upset. We all come running out. And little Josh shows up months later with a little dimple in his chin. So we tease him about it.
Now, did you get, you're a whiz-bang photographer, did you get good photos of Cigar?
Actually, you know, I did. I mean, I remember that was another part of it. In through the fax came a picture and said, "Who took this picture? Did you all take the picture?" So we were already at the stage where we would send out billing photos. That was really what I started with doing. For all our clients, we'd send out end of the month foal pictures, you know, just to update people how their horses were being cared for. And so they had these 2 little pictures, Cigar standing by his dam, a nice side shot, just kind of confirmation, and a head on. And we always tagged our foals too. So the mare wore a number, the foal wore a number. I remember, I have the tags. So he was 37, she was 37, but these particular tags, they were different colors for whatever reason, whether we were running a stock. And I remember Mrs. Paulson feeling like, "No, this wasn't Cigar as a foal." And I said, "No, I know it was Cigar as a foal. I have the," I mean, you could see the tags, they were the same. And it's amazing how this, the markings did change as he got older. So,
was there a moment in his career where, I mean, there's sort of the famous moment where he was on the grass and he was sort of an ordinary grass horse, and then they flipped him, they put him in a third allowance and he won by 10 or whatever. Is that, Is that the moment where, from your perspective, he stamped himself as something different, or was there a different
Well,
moment?
it's interesting. The first time I saw him, I went to the Breeders' Cup in California. I think Arcon won that year at a huge upset, and Cigar ran on Friday, the day before the Breeders' Cup, in an allowance race. And he hit the board. I think he was second or third, but I saw this Maryland bred. I know that guy. And again, I think he was in a grass race or whatever, and Alex Hassinger had him then. And he must have been injured after the race because they stopped, took a chip out, and he had a long layoff, and when he came back, they sent him to Bill Mott. So it was interesting. But when he ran the first race on the dirt and ran a monster buyer, I mean, one of the best of the year, and then Bill Mott put him right in the Cigar Mile. You know, jumps from a allowance race into a grade
Probably
one.
wasn't the Cigar Mile at the time.
Yeah, well, yes, the Naira Mile at the time. Yes, correct. But he made such an impact, they changed the race and his name. But it was wild to watch him run the day he won at Belmont Park, and he was 10 for 10 and Horse of the Year, and Durkin's unbelievable call, the incomparable, marvelous cigar. It had rained earlier in the day, and I was standing outside, and I was like, I didn't realize it was still raining. And I looked down at my program, and it's just the tears running down your face on the program, and you go, oh my God, this is just too cool. So he was a horse that would just imprint your heart. You know, it was just incredible when you watch him and you see him. He was more human than horse sometimes. We went to see him at Saratoga and had the kids, and you know, Bill Mott was on pins and needles anytime he brought this horse out of a stall. And he's like, oh, what the hell? So he brings him out, and he said every groom, every little guy he could find to hide behind that tree or hang by the gate when he brought him out, because he didn't want him getting loose.
Right.
He was getting ready to run in Chicago. And, but it was so cool because Bill made it really special too, because had any other horseman had him, you might never have seen him. But Bill let all the press come in, and that nice tennis player, Martina Hingis, I think her name was, she rides him. You know, great, neat stuff they did. And of course, Madeline Paulson orchestrated a lot when he retired. And they brought him into Madison Square Garden in the big van they had made for Cigar. So he goes on there, and he's on the Madison Square Garden channel, and it's shown all around the country to all these little pony clubbers and whoever had it. And you could not watch this show without the tears running down your face. When they brought Cigar out, Bill Mott said, I don't know what he's going to do because we've never prepared him for this. And Jerry Bailey got on him, and he did this wonderful, you know, dressage prance around the ring, and everybody was just captivated. And then he turned and stood with this beautiful regal pose, and it was, you know, Central Casting couldn't have done any better. One of the great moments, I think, in this, you know, in his career, and if you ask anybody who saw that day, it's indelibly printed in their mind.
I think that's all I got, unless you guys got something else you want to say.
Well, as Dad said, he bred 32 mares and got 0 in foal. Just, he was infertile. And he said, I guess the good Lord made one, that's all he wanted. Yeah.